All right. Can you please state your name for us?
My name is Bruce Ford, but my stage name is ECURB. That's Bruce spelled backwards, ECURB.
Okay. So, can you explain to us when and what inspired you to become a poet?
Dating back when I was a young man, I was given a chance to enter into a poetry contest when I was in 3rd grade. And just seeing my poetry in a book and knowing that book was going to be around longer than I was just inspired me to keep going. Then I started looking around how society was and how things were, and I started writing about it. And that just motivated me to keep on writing and just take it to the next level.
Okay. And how old were you around when this happened?
I was 8 years old when I first wrote my first song and my first poem.
Okay, what was it called?
Yeah. The song was called "I Want to Go to a Friendly Place."
Okay.
And my brother still sings it to this day, and it's funny.
Do you remember the lyrics?
Oh yeah, I do. It went I wanna go to a friendly place where the sun shines everywhere, and the people say I love you every day. Hey, 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 hey. It kind of went to the MASH theme, so whenever MASH would come on, I was singing with it. So That's how I got that.
All right. So who are your influences and why?
I have an auntie named Louise Hobson who's a poet, and Prince is one of my influences, and Tupac Shakur was one of my influences because they wrote from the heart. And sometimes I believe if you write from the heart, your heart can take you wherever you want to go. So. Yeah, so those are my main influences to keep me going. Okay, yeah.
Okay, back to your poetry. What topics do you generally discuss in your
politics, love, what's going on in the world today, what's going on in our society. I had the pleasure to work at the Juvenile Center before, and I started seeing different points of views that were going on with the youth. And I realized that we living in a whole entirely different generation. When I was coming up, you had to respect folks just to respect. But these young folks today, you have to be respectable for them to respect. So in that environment, they have to call me Mr. Ford. So what I did was I in turn started calling them by their last name, Mr. Sanders and Mr. Johnson. And so that was one of my main influences, realizing that in that environment for 12 hours a day, I was some of those young men's fathers. Because the young men that they had, some of them didn't have fathers. Some of them came from homes where drugs were around, and they just never really been taught a lot of things. And my whole point of view of writing is, how can you know that you have options when you've never been shown options? So sometimes I would come in there and kind of challenge them with writing positive poetry, how to make changes in their life, and when they get out, what kind of changes are you going to make? And instead of singing this stuff on the radio, write from your heart, write from your experiences, but no cuss words, and how you gonna change it. So that's really was influence, and that's one reason why I started writing and why I keep writing.
Okay. So it brings me to my next question. What goals do you want to accomplish with your poetry?
Right now I'm in the middle of, I wrote a one-man play called Make a Change, and I'm really actually shooting a video documentary sort of movie with it, and I plan to take that on the road with that. And wrote a book called 51 Keys to a Successful Mindset. And I also have an album coming out called Make a Change, which is music that's inspired to the poem, to the play. So I'm gonna have a DVD play and the music, you can all get it simultaneously in a combo pack. So that's really what keeps me going, and that's what I'm doing with this.
Okay. Now, I heard one of your poems called Fairy Tales.
Okay.
Can you recite that for me, please?
Actually, that's a poem from my play.
Okay.
And it's kind of written about how, let me get to you and let you know how that was inspired.
Okay, give me some background on it.
I was sitting one day looking out my window. I used to stay in an apartment off of Arlington, and I was looking at the young people out in Arlington High School, and I was thinking to myself, man, you know, it's frustrating out here. You got crime, you got all this going on, but there's got to be a silver lining behind all of this. And I just penned the poem Fairy Tale, and it goes like this. Picked up the paper and it read, no hope for the black male, I'm better off dead. I might as well go to Stewart's and put my coffin on layaway. No hope for the future, got a job but for little pay. Good riddance. Who the hell you think you kidding? See, I come from a long generation of black survivors. Since the dates of my earliest of arrivals, the one who wrote the boat hung from trees by a rope with the hope of this new generation. But they selling this dope, hopeless with frustration. We barely can cope in the city, in this nation, the do's and the don'ts of our street occupations. I pray for patience in the midst of our despair. Our babies crying out, do we listen, do we care? Now is it fair, turning on y'all like y'all the foe, when we know the world's a pimp and we's the hoe? No fairy tales for this young black male. Some see me stranded in this land of hell, jail and crack cells. To all my seeds behind me, protect your essence. Born with less, but you still precious. That's how they go.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful poem.
Thank you.
All right. Now tell me more about the venues that you performed at and some of the reactions that you've received from crowds.
In 2008, I had the privilege of going on the road with a movie called Pieces of a Dream, which I did 4 songs for the soundtrack. I never been out to state performing, never did anything. And me and 3 other guys, Sherman Skinner, Tyrus Lewis, and Paul Branton, who was a part of the movie as far as the filming aspect, asked me to come along with them since I was part of the music aspect of it. And what we would do, we would go out of state, and we loaded up in the SUV, went from Missouri to Jackson State to Grambling State University, all through Mississippi, Louisiana, and we would stop at these universities and these colleges and perform. And once I started realizing when people heard my music and never heard of me, and then I seen the reaction of them going wild, and then I would talk about vision, commitment, a connection, leadership, and passion for what you do, I started to see them respond in ways that I didn't know that people felt the way I felt. But once I seen the reaction, I knew that this was my calling, and that's when I started putting it like 100% to everything I was doing. Now, what was the question again?
The reaction that you received from crowds.
The reaction that I received, which is beautiful. When you go out on stage and you point out your heart and you're giving out empowering type messages in your music, and you see a positive reaction, that's beautiful, because this society, if you listen to the music now, it was a time when the culture dictated the music. It was like the culture, the music, kind of like the writers of songs would look at the culture and write about their songs to that. Now it's like the music is dictating the culture. It's like if these guys who are rapping about this stuff that they rap about, dream this stuff up and they just put it on you. You know, so it's like, it's hard for when you doing music that's positive and empowering, you don't know if people really want it. It's like serving people steak and they use the hamburger and you don't even know if they really want steak. But when you go out on stage and you pushing positive type music, empowering, and they jumping up and down and excited, then you say something empowering and you see the place go wild, it leaves something in you. And every day that I was on the road, I cried every day. I would get up, I would jump rope, and I would actually thank God for just allowing me to do what I love to do. Wasn't getting any money for it, took a chance, because when you're doing this independent thing, sometimes you just gotta go for it. You can't be scared of it. And every night I realized I was leaving a piece of me on that stage, you know, and you was leaving an impression with folks who might have been, when they were coming in, wanting to give up. And you seen it after stage. You see people who would come to you and be like, I love what you do, keep it going. I don't know you, can I have your email? And you develop fans for life. And now I keep and commute with those folks through emails. And now they asking me when I'm gonna bring my play down south, when am I gonna perform and do my whole album down there. So when I came back with a mission as far as completing an album that'll be life-changing. Is not just wax, but a classic on plastic, as I like to call it. So really just seeing them thirst and long for something real positive just left a good taste in my mouth and just made me more hungry when I came back in the city of Indianapolis, the double I.
Okay, so what else do you like to do in your spare time?
I love spending time with my son. I wish I could be with him 100% of the time, and that's really one of my goals. It's why I push, why I do this, because I would love to just produce from the house and get him up in the morning, watch cartoons, eat cereal, and then we just relax all day, but still push out positive products and just be a fine example for him to be the man that he's called to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a website, an email that you?
I have bruceford71@yahoo.com. I'm getting my MySpace page together and my web space page together. Be within a month, it should be all together. So I'll make sure that, you know, hopefully I can get it to you and they flash across the screen as we talk when you do the editing. So that's cool.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview me.
Thank you
with
for
me.
having me. I really appreciate
You're
this time.
welcome. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, to the point. I might have needed some old cappuccino, venti mocha. It's a wrap.